A very good afternoon, everyone, and a very warm welcome to all the families joining us today for the new initiative Parent Webinar Series. The first webinar of this series is about understanding allergies and asthma, and we are delighted to have you all here. And we are honored to have Dr. Sanjay Wazir, a medical doctor of neonatology, here with us today. Dr. Sanjay will guide us through an insightful session, sharing expert knowledge and practical strategies to help you better understand and manage allergies and asthma, ensuring your child thrives at every stage of their growth. Before we begin, let me introduce HealthSetGo, the official health partner of your school. We are proud to be India's largest healthcare organization for schools, with the mission to nurture the world's largest network of health promoting schools. As part of our care program, we offer comprehensive health assessments, same day digital reports through our My Health app, health education, and accidental insurance. Now, without further delay, let's begin. And please join me in welcoming Dr. Sanjay Wazir. We are excited to learn from you, Dr. Sanjay, and we are confident that this will be an enriching experience for everyone.
So thank you. Now, as parents, good afternoon. And as parents, we all, and I'm also a parent, so we always want the best for our kids, like organic food, top schools, like latest gadgets, but air, and that's where we have been slacking. Now, can you imagine if the air came with a price tag, introducing premium air, buy one lung full and one get one free on Blinkit? Something like this, which is like, not unimaginable the way the things are going. Now, if you see this like picture, this is like a winter morning in Delhi, and this is not, fog. This is not really winter, but you wake up, you draw the curtains, and there is a thick haze outside, which we normally see some of the days, like we recently see, and your child is excited to the cricket practice that he needs to go, or they wanted to go to school, but you hesitated. You check the air quality index on your phone, it's 350, hazardous, and that hesitation you feel is shared by millions of parents across Delhi NCR every single day. In Delhi, checking the AQI is like checking the weather in London. It's always bad. But you still hope for a miracle that आज नहीं तो अगले साल तो ठीक हो ही जाएगा, इस नहीं तो अगले कल ठीक हो जाएगा. And जब हमारा when it is like around 200, 250, we say, okay, still happy. We're happy now this is breathable. We are still okay. But we need to understand that pollution is something which is damaging not only the health, but as like also reducing the life expectancy. So when we go to a temple, we say our children should grow, and भगवान हमारे बच्चे की उम्र इतनी बढ़ा देना to maybe like live 100 years. But then God says, okay, where am I responsible? You are the ones who are spoiling the environment. You're not even looking after the way the air I had given you. And if you're going to breathe, so the scientific data suggests that we probably are going to live as a society 10 years lesser than when we are designed to. Now, for adults like us, we may say, okay, it doesn't matter to us. But for our children, yes, we want, nothing more than to provide a safe, nurturing environment for our children. Like, in one of the most vibrant and ambitious cities in the world, the India, Delhi or NCR region figures around the 20 top ambitious cities in the world. And in this weather, you see, okay, the very air that we breathe and the children they breathe threatens their health and their future. So how do we get there? And more importantly, what can we do about it? Now, in today, I'm going to talk to you or want to go talk to through three things. How serious the problem of air pollution in Delhi is, and why disproportionately it affects children more than the adults, and what we as parents can do, because solutions exist, but they start with us, not with anyone else. Now let's start with the numbers. Now, as I said, Delhi NCR consistently ranks among the top polluted regions in the world. In winter, the air quality index, as we recently saw, shoots past 300 and levels that are not only healthy but also hazardous. And to put this into perspective, uh, I would say, like, so this is a pollution, but to put it into the perspective, an AQI of around 300 is like your child is smoking 20 cigarettes a day. We want to protect them against any such kind of an environment where there is a passive smoke. We make sure. But unfortunately, this is what is happening to them on a daily basis. And yes, every breath they breathe carries invisible toxins that silently harm their lungs, their heart, even the brain. We can always blame the stubble burning. Okay, Punjab mein aisa hota hai. We can say, okay, there are multiple sources of pollution that we need to address on a war footing. So it is not only that the farmer is responsible. It's not only that the guy who's driving the car or the truck or is responsible. We all are equally responsible for this particular thing. And to put it in perspective, if I have to, like, if I go for a joyride today, like for because it's like, even if it is my vehicle which is not emitting the bad air or the fumes, I still am running on petrol or gasoline. And when I'm driving all the way to Jaipur just for a joyride, for example, at that time the fuel which is going to come is traveled in diesel trucks. It comes from factories where, or refineries where they use a lot of bad quality. They produce a lot of pollution. So we all are contributing to this particular mess that we're creating for our children as such. And as you probably would see, the problem is, like, if you see in the 2023 data that I present on the left side, that, like, you would see only July, the one is the month where you have less than 84, which is in the so-called moderate zone, but above like 100, which is unhealthy for sensitive groups, like, those who have an asthma, allergy, or bronchitis, or a chronic kidney disease, chronic lung disease. So those are the ones where you would see that 11 after 12 months in Delhi NCR are polluted, like for almost everyone. Yeah. So it's not that the problem is only in November and December, and once the November, December goes away, New Year comes, and then we forget about the problem. So if we are serious about protecting our children, we need to maybe look at it in more serious kind of problem. And it is not undoable, because if you look at, like, China or Beijing, that in 2010 or 12, they had the same kind of a problem that we have now. In the government got excited to take care of this particular thing. The people started demanding from the government that pollution be kind of controlled. And today you would see it. This is 2022 data from one of the journals. I took it, and their AQI level, PM 2.5, sorry, levels are 31, which is still 5 or 6 times higher than what the country is having. Sorry, the WHO stipulates are. But when you look at India, for example, this same level is almost close to 20 times higher than the WHO stipulated safe limits for this. And so this also brings us to a pertinent point: why only children are more vulnerable, and why do we say it affects all, for sure, but we are in a process where we have already developed. Now, like, children are just not small adults. Their bodies respond differently to pollution levels. For example, they, like, the children breathe faster compared to adults, meaning that they inhale more air and more toxins relative to their body weight. Their lungs are still developing, so the lungs and the immune systems are still growing, making them less equipped to filter out harmful practices, or sorry, particles. Agar, if it is my nose, for example, I have a thick layer of hair inside, so which protects when I breathe, so they can trap. But for children, this is not a protection available to them in that amount. So when they breathe in, they tend to have more inhalants going into the lungs compared to an adult. And children, whether they play in playgrounds, they are crawling, they're running, they're just too close to the ground level pollution compared to adults who probably would not be there, playing as much as the children do. Now I want to go through this.
Air pollution. It lurks all around us, preying on the young and old. It slips unnoticed past your defenses and assaults your lungs, heart, and brain. Its deadliest weapons are invisible, poisonous particles that can be as small as a molecule. With every breath, they break through your lungs' protective barriers. There, they trigger inflammation as your system tries desperately to fight back. But these tiny intruders penetrate those defenses, lodging toxic compounds even deeper, sowing the seeds of cancer. They slide straight into your bloodstream, sabotaging your entire body. They inflame and constrict your blood vessels, increasing blood pressure until, one day, causing a stroke. The particle prowlers dislodge fatty plaque that may have built up from your diet. They weave clots that can be deadly blockers of blood flow to your heart or brain. With each new case of heart attack, stroke, lung disease, or cancer, air pollution adds another life to its hit list. Let's stop this invisible killer.
So when we talk about like this particular thing that air pollution, so generally parents come to me and says कि air pollution की वजह से इसको खांसी हो रही है, middle air pollution की वजह से इसको जुकाम, इसका नसला बढ़ रहा है. So that definitely is one of the problems that you see in the short term. But what we are interested in, or what we want to do, is to look at the long-term implications of this. Now, if I tell you, like, and as I showed you in the video, like 42 lakh deaths in 2022 extra happened globally uh, because of the air pollution, out of which 68% of them were related to heart disease. Now, heart or ischemic disease, brain stroke, and 4% over there were because of the lung cancer. Now you may say, okay, heart disease तो वैसे भी हो गया होगा किसी और वजह से, but these are only attributable to एयर पोल्यूशन, बिकॉज जो टॉक्सिन्स हैं और जो पेस्टिसाइड्स जो टॉक्सिन्स हैं, जो सूट है PM2.5, वो आपके लंग्स और आपके ब्लड के छोटे छोटे वेसल्स को क्लॉग कर देते हैं, एंड सडनली यू हैव स्ट्रोक ईदर इन द ब्रेन और यू हैव अ हार्ट अटैक इन द चेस्ट. तो इट इज इम्पोर्टेंट दैट वी नीड टू डू समथिंग अबाउट इट ऑन अ रेगुलर बेसिस. Now you would say, okay, ठीक है, अब हम क्या कर सकते हैं? How we can't eliminate pollution overnight, but what we can create is the protection bubble around our children in home and outside also. So you invest in, like, when you probably say, okay, how do you decide कि उसको क्या करना चाहिए? So one of the things that you probably would make sure that, like, when the AQI levels are very high, suppose they're more than 250 or more than 300, for example, that time the children should stay indoors. And if they have to go out for, because it is important for their development, so choose a time when it is relatively afternoon. So the pollution tends to be worse in the morning or towards the late evening. In the afternoon, it tends to be like reasonably, better. So if you have to go for an activity, it should be in an afternoon. Now, wherever possible, so you could probably just choose कि बिल्कुल आउटडोर से जाने से अच्छा है कि ऐसा you can choose clubs or probably activities, gymnastics and other thing where they have installed air purifiers for, like, improving the quality of air indoors, and then you can do the same physical activity to improve to engage the child. जो तीसरा इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है कि आपका एयर मास्क जो होते हैं, वो जो फेस मास्क होते हैं, सो दे यू शुड यूज देम, एंड यूज देम लाइक बिकॉज N95 या N99. So I've seen many people putting that fancy kind of mask that is for reducing the droplet spread. बट अगर आपके मास्क में अगर आपने ऐसा नहीं पहना और ऊपर से आपकी एयर चली गई, so you're breathing the same air, then it is of no use. So it has to be a little snugly faced, but I can understand कि बच्चों को मास्क पहनाना is making them like eating a broccoli. But if you do it, if your children see you doing it, they're more likely to, kind of do it better. Then the other thing that you need to be just, doing is कि एक एयर पोल्यूशन जो हम करते हैं कि हमें लगता है कि एयर में है जो बाहर है, बट इंडोर पोल्यूटेंट्स भी इक्वली होता है। समथिंग लाइक जैसे बात कर रहे थे कि एलर्जीज और एस्थमा की, सो देयर इज लाइक एन एस्थमा और allergy also because of an house dust mite, you know. So if your carpets, for example, or your upholstery is kind of containing that house dust mite and is not cleaning, so थोड़ा सा एक तो बाहर की हवा की वजह से खराब है, तो अंदर की वजह से भी वो हवा खराब हो जाती है, and those children would have more problem. So it is important to keep your indoors clean. You vacuum your house like on a regular basis. Just make sure that you have the least amount of clutter in your house, because when there's a lot of dust which accumulates and which can increase, and a little dust here and there, airflow here and there can generate an higher. In fact, there is some data to suggest that sometimes the air indoor pollutants can grow as much as 8 times compared to the outdoor pollutants. So, I mean, of course, we can't do much about the outdoor as well, but at least we can keep indoors clean. Then at the same time, we need to make sure that you drink a lot of water, so that any accumulant particle which is there in the respiratory tract flows. So every 3 to 4 hours, you should make sure that your children are drinking some kind of water, and avoid strenuous activities, because जितना ज़्यादा activity और exercise करेंगे, जैसे for example ऐसे time पे if your child loves playing say for example football, versus he wants to play a board game like chess. So I'll say, okay, chess is sorry. If between chess and sorry, football and say table tennis, it is better to play table tennis because you're less likely to have that exercise outside. Then food per se is not really going to be making much impact for pollution because it's air problem. But eating the right foods, especially which has a good amount of vitamin E and vitamin A and vitamin C, जिससे आपका जो epithelium है वो स्ट्रांग रहता है, तो ये जो पार्टिकल्स हैं वो पास थ्रू नहीं कर पाते इजीली। सेकेंड, जो फूड है जैसे जिसमें एंटीऑक्सीडेंट्स ज्यादा होते हैं, like for example broccoli or blueberry or something, so these ones would reduce your chances of having oxidant mediated जो भी PM 2.5 या 10 की वजह से अंदर जाने की वजह से इन्फ्लेमेशन होता है, उसको कम कर सकते हैं। सो ईटिंग द राइट फूड विच इंक्लूड्स 50% of your plate should be fruit and vegetables, and if you can achieve that, you would probably like at least do something which for your child. And then you would also do is like use air purifiers. Now people come to me कि एयर प्योरीफायर लगाना सही पे है कि नहीं है, क्योंकि जब वो बच्चे बाहर जाते हैं सो उनकी इम्यूनिटी वीक हो जाएगी, विल मेक देम मोर फ्रेजाइल. It is a dust, it is gandagi, it is like coal. It is, so nobody gets like immune to an or automobile exhaust. ये वहां से जो गंदगी आ रही है वो अंदर आपको हेल्थ वो प्रॉब्लम करेगी, ठीक है, वो आपके जैसे डिपॉजिट होगा लंग्स के अंदर, तो इन्फ्लेमेशन कॉज करेगी. सो द आइडिया इज टू यूज एयर प्यूरिफायर, but any air purifier is not good enough. You must need to talk to the manufacturer and find out कि आपके रूम के साइज से कौन सा लाइक प्योरीफायर सही है. एंड CADR होता है, which is basically the air कितना स्प्रेड कर सकता है. So talk to the manufacturer before buying and investing in air purifiers. You could possibly use air purifying plants. And in fact, I was today early morning reading about in Times of India, there is a family of in somewhere called Sainik Farms in Delhi or somewhere. I forgot in today's newspaper only. So they have been with the use of purifying plants across in their house. They've been able to reduce the AQI to less than 100. In that, where the surrounding, even the neighbor's house has more than 300. But so there may be a value in kind of using these kind of purifying plants to make sure that you have a decent kind of. Now, we all, I mean, it's not a political speech, so I'm not really telling you to go for it. But we always blame the government कि government कुछ नहीं करती. But Thomas Jefferson once said, "Government you elect is the government you deserve." because you never ask for those things. Say, if you would probably, if all of you, for example, today, make sure that you start writing on the social media every single day about air pollution and its impact, asking and writing, each one of you writing one letter to the government and Ministry of Environment and saying, okay, what have you done? And keep repeating and adding more to this campaign. Of course, governments have to budget. And Beijing model is one of those examples where the Beijing people force the government to do something about it. So it is not like something which is undoable, but we must not depend on others to do our job, especially the governments. We should take this matter up urgently for our parents, our children. Again, मोदी जी का एक है कि एक पेड़ एक माँ के नाम, वो उत्तराखंड में उन्होंने एक स्लोगन दिया था। एंड आई थिंक दिस इज व्हाट वी कैन डू टू आवर चिल्ड्रन। एक पेड़ अपने बच्चे के नाम कोई भी लगा सकता है, लाइक एंड वी मस्ट इंश्योर दैट दैट इज एटलीस्ट ऑन देयर बर्थडे, लाइक द नंबर ऑफ इयर्स ऑफ देयर बर्थडे एंड द नंबर ऑफ ट्रीज वी प्लांट इज समथिंग बेसिक दैट वी कैन गिव बैक टू without waiting for things to appear, all of us from the God. So, like on an ending note, I would suggest that the air in Delhi may feel heavy, but there is a reason for hope. The odd even scheme, the rapid expansion of metro, the rise of electrical vehicles show that the change is happening. It is possible, and yes, slow, but surely it's happening. Now, for you, I get say start small, but at least check your AKI daily. Use verifiers and share what you've learned today with your community properly. Maybe you research and come back to me and say, okay, this is what I've done. And just advocate for greener policies, but not only in the, from the government side, whether these greener policies we and initiatives we take at our own home, I mean, in our day-to-day life. And you should all, write one thing that you have done today for the environment, for the community, to help the children, because our lives at this thing will live half of our lives, or maybe more than that. But it is like we cannot leave the earth dirty for the newer generation to come.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sanjay, for that insightful session. To all the parents, this is to inform you that we're also excited to share that we'll be publishing blogs and articles on allergies and asthma and more on our My Health application. So we request them to stay updated and make the most of these resources to support your child's health journey. And once again, thank you everyone for joining us today.